Hey, how you doing, listeners? This is Gina Versa. We're here doing a very special interview for this episode of the Waffle Press Movie Podcast. I'm here with a friend that I we just kind of like met very much by chance. We're both at a screening at the AMC Americana. Not sure. I forgot what movie I was seeing, but yeah, we just started talking about movies and film. He's a projectionist. He's a chief projectionist on some outlets. But yeah, I wanted to introduce to the podcast Tim Kennelly. Tim, how you doing?
Very good, Gene.
Yeah, so you're a projectionist. You work for various organizations, but can you tell any listeners what you do specifically?
Yeah, I like to use the term projection technology expert because projectionist knows how to run the machines and do a show, but I've had about 30 years kind of learning different technology from film to digital cinema to Dolby Vision. And so I consider my job to know as much as possible about the field and about the machines I'm using, but also things I haven't yet learned.
Yeah, no, that's all really interesting. Because we're big proponents of the theatrical experience on this podcast. So it's really cool to like have you and kind of like explain and talk about some of the aspects of your job that you do. Yeah, I guess can you tell us a little bit how you got your start in projection?
Um, yeah, I have to go back to my inspiration. As a teenager in Washington, D.C., there was a summer when they showed a bunch of 70 millimeter movies in a summer-long festival at the Uptown Theater. And they showed Blade Runner and Fantasia and Tron and Apocalypse Now. And that kind of made me in love with the big screen experience. Several years later, I was back living in DC after college. I was filming live bands in clubs, doing a public access TV show. Met a musician friend that happened to know movie projection, and I said, "Hey, I'd like to learn that." He said, "Show up next week with a notebook in the projection booth." So I did, I don't know, few dozen hours of training, how to thread a projector, what all the components are. Shortly after that, a college buddy of mine who had just worked with Doug Trumbull on the Back to the Future, the ride at Universal Studios, said, "Come up to Massachusetts. Doug is hiring for another big project with immersive film projection and ride films." It turned out to be for the Luxor Pyramid in Las Vegas. So just straight from a commercial theater in Washington, D.C., with a couple of weeks of training to working on really high-tech, unprecedented, high-speed film projectors for Doug Trumbull.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I love that story because you were telling me the other day about that. Because if anyone isn't familiar with Douglas Trumbull, that's listening, he worked on 2001: A Space Odyssey. Of course, directed Silent Running, and yeah, really technical genius. Are there any? Oh, sorry,
Oh yeah, don't forget Blade Runner
Blade
and
Runner. Yep.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Can't forget
Um,
those. Yeah, many like influential films. Like too
he's
many to list. Yeah.
he's kind of the godfather of modern visual effects.
hmm
Um,
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about like kind of working with him? Any like stories that you might have? Because he unfortunately passed fairly recently. Any stories you had of just like working with him because you said he was pretty good to work with.
yeah, I don't think I had that many one-on-one interactions with him, but just being around the things he invented for the Luxor pyramid. It had a compound curved screen with moving seats, I think a 20-seat vehicle. There was a rear projected show scan, which is 60 frame a second, 70 millimeter film. And there was pieces of furniture on a set that butted up against the screen, so they fit perfectly with the rear projected image, which was very lifelike. So he was all about immersive environments and optical illusions and anything that's bigger and grander than just 24 frames a second on one flat surface on one wall.
Yeah.
Uh, so lucky enough to get my whole career started under a guy who was always pushing the boundaries of what film presentation could be. It was always a larger than life experience, and he was doing that right up to his last days.
Yeah.
So yeah, just fascinating to be kind of in the trenches and setting up the projector on scaffolding and lifting the projector up from a ceiling gantry to put it on a different scaffolding and
Mhm.
orienting it 90 degrees the other way to do vertical vista vision.
Yeah.
Yeah, really hands-on stuff with some of the most interesting projection systems I've ever worked with.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that's like, yeah, it's so fascinating because he's just like, yeah, he's a legend. And yeah, you're saying he was even trying to do like a higher like frame rate or work on that as well.
For the Luxor project, the main attraction was a 48 frame a second VistaVision.
Hmm.
And VistaVision is 8 per 35 millimeter going sideways. So it was twice the resolution of normal cinema image and going twice the speed.
Hmm.
So very lifelike. Um, and yeah, he invented ShowScan in the 70s or 80s. Tried to use it in the movie Brainstorm
Hmm.
for the scenes when they go into the sort of, proto virtual reality. He wanted to make that much more lifelike, but just couldn't incorporate that technology into the existing cinema presentation technology. But yeah, right in his last years, he was experimenting with 120 frame a second digital projection, always trying to break through the window when you mistake the projected image for reality.
Yeah, no, that's really cool that, even, someone that was, well into his 80s, I believe that, still kind of like in his field and like pushing what he could do. That's really inspiring, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Uh, Kind of going off of that, you've been in the industry and business for a while. Can you talk a little bit about kind of the difference or just kind of the nuances of the like projecting digital movies or like a DCP or projecting film, which is where you got your start with. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and I have to start out saying I don't like the sort of idea of pitting them against each other. I
Hmm.
think they
I
both
agree.
have terrific and magnificent qualities. A film has a particular look and a particular grain and a particular experience of seeing a light interrupted by a shutter. So film also requires a lot of caretaking by the operator. They have to get it right. It's a fallible
Hmm.
medium. You mishandle it, it can scratch, and it may be one of the last prints.
Yeah, it's like
So
preserving a painting, right? But you have
yeah,
to
yeah.
show the painting everywhere. Yeah.
Um, so I love working with film. Anytime there's a big 70 millimeter release, recently Oppenheimer, and before that Dunkirk,
Mm-hmm.
Hateful Eight. I'm one of the guys that's in a commercial theater running that, and it takes so much care to get it right. But I love showing people that film, when well presented, can be spotless and
Yeah.
beautiful and just illuminating. On the other side of that, digital cinema has a lot of great qualities. It never degrades its image, no matter how many times you show it. It's a much more even light spread across the whole field. You can have uncompressed audio, And that's just with standard digital cinema. And then digital cinema formats like Dolby Vision have a higher dynamic range, so it's twice the brightness to of normal D cinema all the way to complete blacks.
Mhm.
Um, Makes a fabulous image. Digital has kind of unlimited capabilities. Um, and one of the things I think I was talking with you the other day about was seeing the recent release or re-release of the Queen Montreal concert,
Yes.
IMAX
Yeah.
release. They took what must have been somewhat beat up film footage and they remastered it and up-resed it and remastered the audio, and it was spotless. And it was like you were on stage with Queen, listening to the music all around you. So it was thrilling to have that experience. And that's the upside of digital technology. So I think they both have great qualities. When one is used to enhance the other, like the source material shot on film but remastered on digital, that's a great symbiosis of the two.
Yeah, yeah, no. I mean, I really agree with you. The idea like both could exist at the same time without, yeah, pitting them against each other. It's like, I don't know, like if you were like a musician and there's like, electric and like acoustic guitars, it's like just because, you like electric doesn't mean you have to like totally like destroy like every acoustic guitar, you know?
Yeah, and just because you have a MIDI keyboard and 128 mixing channels doesn't mean that's the appropriate way to express yourself.
Mhm.
Sometimes acoustic piano or an acoustic guitar, and that's how you convey your artistic expression. And it's the best way to.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Yeah. Yeah, because we both agree that they could exist together. Kind of going on like a really like, I wouldn't say speculative, but like a really broad topic, because people like Christopher Nolan or other filmmakers have talked about theater presentation, because he made a really good point in his speech at the Academy Awards when he won for Oppenheimer, which was really well deserved. But yeah, he was saying that only, it's only been like 100 years of theaters like making movies, and theater presentation can only like imagine what's going to come from here, because like music's been around for like thousands of years, and movies like only 100. What do you working in your field for so long and having such experience, how do you see film projection and theater presentation going within like the next like 20, 50 years?
Um, I guess that's kind of a two-pronged question
Hmm.
or a topic. One is technology and how will that change and increase, and the other is how will storytelling evolve
Yeah.
regardless of the technology.
Hmm.
So in terms of technology, um, there's something that's been out for a few years that I'm really impressed by. It's a LED screen, but a cinema quality LED screen. So just like you have on your Dolby Vision capable home TV, not you personally, but
Hmm.
uh, some of us do.
Yeah.
Um, and so you can have a really high dynamic range and a really even better than cinema quality. You can actually now have these on a cinema wall that's 14 or 18 or 20 feet wide.
Hmm.
They're pretty expensive for cinemas, but some high-end homes have them. I've seen demonstrations of the latest and greatest in that. It's really beautiful and breathtakingly gorgeous. Um, I think I think there's a lot of room for storytelling using technology that's a little more immersive.
Hmm.
We, for instance, could walk into a theater and there's images on all four walls.
Hmm.
Um, it's setting the environment to really put us in the world of whatever Star Wars,
Yeah.
the Old West, undersea colony, anything you can think of. You can actually walk into a space And I'd love to see people use all of this technology, which is much easier now than 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Some stories that way, using all surfaces, using immersive sound.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you see anything like for VR or virtual reality in the future? Anything akin to that?
I've worked a little bit with virtual reality back in 1995. I
Hmm.
toured around the country with a truck that turned into a, movie theater just by unfolding like a transformer. We
Yeah.
showed 3D movie on the back and had virtual reality attraction on the front. I gotta say, I've never really been in love with virtual reality.
Hmm.
Just from my starting point in movies being Doug Trumbull's large, giant screen immersive surfaces where you physically feel you're part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I never really buy that I'm in the world in virtual reality.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe technology is not that good, but I always am aware that I'm staring at pixels 2 inches from my eyeballs.
Yeah, it's like almost like the illusions like right in front of you. Whereas like movies or like the theater experience feels like immersive already, right? Or it
Yeah,
can be.
uh, theater is a much more grand experience. And not to be overlooked is the idea that in theaters, human beings all gather together in the same space
Mm-hmm.
and share emotions. And virtual reality is a very insular, singular, isolating experience. It's not really what interests me. Some gamers lose themselves in VR games for a day at a time.
Yeah.
Not my interest.
Mm-hmm.
Those are ways to tell stories. I just don't have a lot of passion for them, so I don't make that many predictions.
Yeah.
Well, I also want to say about
Mm-hmm.
storytelling. I hope that we maintain for the next generation the idea of a 2 hour continuous viewing experience.
Mm-hmm.
Some fears that that may be lost as we get more distractible with media. We already see people that cannot even put their phones down for an hour
Yeah.
and a half in the theater.
Yeah.
Um, so I hope that we preserve that in our own culture, the idea of giving one's full attention to one source and having someone tell a story that way,
Yeah.
rather than some days I think we're just becoming a culture of, distracted ADD people that are satisfied with 14-second TikTok videos
Yeah. Yeah. Sadly.
and the infinite number of them and the illusion that we're connecting with an audience when they can put a fire emoji in the comments section. Not the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to like you don't want to interact with the screen. You want like the screen to like kind of take you out of your like troubles or whatever's going on in your life and be away from whatever for like 2 hours, you know?
Let's not lose that in our
Yeah.
culture.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean we could only like speculate. We can only speculate because that's like I think it'll be positive, whatever happens, but we could like think the future will be like more futuristic than we could ever think about, you know?
Yeah, technology always comes along and affects our lives, and some people lose jobs and other people gain jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Separate discussion.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that what the technology now makes it easier to make content, but what seems to be dwindling is people's creators' grand vision and persistence to see a major project through. It's seductive to make a little 1 minute thing and get 1,000 likes on your social media page.
Yeah.
If that's all you ever do for years, rather than focus on one story you want to craft and put together and cast and mix the sound for, um, I think that it's essential that as much as the technology advances, we need to preserve qualities like long-term vision and persistence and follow through to make worthwhile creative acts rather than, being happy with putting every little brain fart you have on social media and getting instant gratification.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's really well said.
That's my
Um,
box.
yeah, no, no, it's all cool. Yeah, we're all for, just saying our piece on the podcast. Kind of changing gears here. Because you had a long career and you worked at a lot of theaters, and I love movie theaters. Like, I feel like each movie theater has like its own sort of feel. Like, the Egyptian feels different than like say like the Aereo, or the Aereo feels different than like the Cinerama Dome, which hopefully back next year. But what are the favorite types of theaters that you worked at, like that you got to like work and project at, or just in general?
Oh, Television Academy Theaters, one of the
Hmm.
finest in the world.
Just went there.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
showed me a demo.
yeah, right, right. So you agree that's one of the finest venues.
Yeah,
Um, the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures, the
that's a good
Getty
one.
Theater, absolutely one of the finest cinemas in the universe.
Yeah.
Folks don't know enough that they have great content and great programming and world-class presentation, both theaters at the Academy Museum. Um, let's see. El Capitan's pretty nice.
Hmm.
It's got a great Dolby Vision system, Atmos sound, and a historic feeling
Hmm.
also.
Yeah, some good ones. Yeah, it's I'm glad, like, and also too, like, I mean, a lot of theaters were hit hard during COVID, so I'm glad, even though it's taken a little bit, things have like gradually kind of went back to normal, with like the Vista being back open, or yeah,
With film projection,
with
with
projection.
35 and 70 millimeter film projection.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely check out the Academy Theater for anyone listening, because like, yeah, I feel like not enough people either know about that, or like have heard about it, because it's like they put on some really great shows. Like, I just saw this Friday of this recording, they're playing like Donnie Darko there. Like, and
Yeah.
it's only $10. It's very economical, you know?
They also have 35 millimeter and 70 millimeter and Dolby
Yeah.
Vision and 16 millimeter for the retrospectives of old animated artists from Cal Arts.
Yeah.
With stellar programming there.
Yeah. Anyone listening, just as soon as you finish this recording, just like look up the calendar for the Academy and go.
Uh,
Um, yeah.
academymuseum.org. I'm
Yeah.
always plugging that.
Exactly. Yeah. And then just kind of winding down here, because it's like, it's a movie podcast. We do love movies. Me and you have been like talking, just movies we love, just outside the podcast. But any deep cuts, or any movies that you want to like recommend to people that you really enjoy?
Yeah. I've been thinking about this a little bit.
Hmm.
So plug in some movies that not that well known, but absolutely worth seeing. If you ever get the chance to see the 3D documentary on Pina Bausch, the choreographer,
Hmm.
see that. That I think is my favorite 3D movie I've ever seen. It's all about, dance is about beings in physical space, and
Hmm.
it's so well shot. Um, my I was talking about Koyaanisqatsi, the kind of visual poem, I think from the early 80s,
Hmm.
all to Philip Glass music.
Oh, he's great. Yeah.
Yeah, all time lapse footage. Some of it is traffic flowing through cities, others people, other is landscapes and clouds moving over them. It's just hypnotic from beginning to end.
Hmm.
Um, there's a cool little indie film that I watched recently, and I have to plug. It's called Too Late. It stars John Hawkes. It's from 2015. One of the reasons I love it is there's a projectionist character in it,
Hmm.
but it's 5 reels. Each is one continuous take, and it's shot on 35 millimeter. Kind of nonlinear, but it's a cool way to tell a story. and there's a scene in a projection booth, which always makes it a worthwhile movie in my book.
Yeah. No, it seems like it. Yeah, definitely agree.
Um,
Mhm.
oh, yeah, two other all-time favorites of mine are Wally and Up,
Okay.
Pixar movies, because I worked on them, showing all the dailies.
Oh, those are good ones. Yeah, some of the top tier of like
Yeah,
Pixar. Yeah. So yeah.
with good messages and
Hmm.
impeccable artistry.
Yeah.
That's some of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I'm always glad to talk to you about like movie recommendations too, because you definitely had some good ones. Some I have never even heard of. So thank you. Yeah. But
Oh.
yeah, I guess that's time right now because yeah, but Tim, is there anything you want to plug or promote on your end for any like audience or listeners to check out?
I should probably get around to making an Instagram account,
Hmm.
showing all the cool things I've worked on in 30 years of
Yeah.
odd and rare projection technology. I'll let you know what that is when I do it. Maybe you can
Okay.
share with listeners. This will
Yeah.
inspire me to actually do that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because yeah, you work with some really cool stuff. But yeah, if anyone wants to be, check out any of the movies or anything that you're projecting, yeah, definitely check out Television Academy. I believe that they have like a membership. So yeah, it's just in North Hollywood. So cool. Well, awesome. Cool. This was a really good this was a really intelligent, fun conversation with you, Tim. So, thanks for your time. I really appreciate you like explaining like all the nuances of like, this craft because yeah, the theatrical experience is pretty necessary, We think that as well. So yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Good talking with you, Gene.
Yeah, good talking with you. Hopefully have you back on again or something. But yeah, it's a good interview. And then yeah, hope to see some more movies. But yeah, you can find us at the Waffle Press movie podcast on Twitter, the Waffle Press podcast on Instagram. We're on Spotify, iTunes, and SoundCloud. Please like, share, subscribe. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.